Um, Hello, welcome to my rat post lab. Now, while this is a rat post lab, I will also be drawing connections between many of the organisms that we have dissected in class and draw conclusions connecting other organisms based on phylum, classes, and phylogeny. Okay, first things first, I'm going to discuss a rabbit. Specifically, I want to discuss how we can predict what the respiratory, digestive, and reproductive systems and structures will look like in a rabbit based on organisms we have dissected. Of all the animals that we have dissected in this class, the rat has the best way of giving us an insight into the rabbit's organs. This is mainly due to the fact that both organisms belong to clade Tetrapoda, have four limbs, clade Amniota have an amniotic egg with a fluid-filled sac around the embryo, and class Mammalia having differential teeth, internal fertilization, and hair. Now, if we look at the previously mentioned systems and structures in the rat, we can conclude that the rabbit would have lungs for gas exchange located at the anterior end of the body, a complete digestive system, and male and female reproductive structures. Let's expand on that. Since both the rat and rabbit are mammals, the rabbit would have lungs used by many vertebrates such as the rat. In addition, since both organisms belong to class Mammalia, they would both use teeth for initial mechanical digestion and their stomach, and mainly small intestine for chemical digestion. Finally, both organisms have amniotic eggs, so fertilization would take place internally, and the offspring would grow in the womb and be birthed from the vagina of the female rabbit. Okay, next I want to discuss the digestive, circulatory, and respiratory systems of an earthworm, crayfish, squid, and perch, some other organisms we've dissected. Let's start with the digestive systems of the earthworm. The earthworm has a complete digestive system and takes in food from the mouth, but since it has no teeth for mechanical digestion, it uses rocks that it holds in its gizzard to break down food. The food is then digested and exits the anus. The crayfish is another similar organism, as it has a complete digestive system, but no teeth at the mouth for mechanical digestion. Instead, they have teeth in their cardiac stomach that are used for mechanical digestion. Slightly different, the squid also has a complete digestive system, but it has differing mechanical digestion. It uses its beak to tear off pieces of food and then uses radula on its tongue to grind the pieces into smaller bits. Finally, the perch has teeth in its mouth that it uses to bite and chew up prey for mechanical digestion. Next, let's discuss the circulatory systems. First, let's go back to earthworms. They have a closed circulatory system. This means that all their blood is enclosed in vessels. Specifically, the earthworm has a dorsal and ventral blood vessel for circulation. Next, let's discuss the crayfish, who have an open circulatory system. This means their blood is not enclosed in continuous vessels, and it directly fills and washes its body cavity and organs with blood for delivering nutrients and oxygen. Next is the squid. The squid, like the earthworm, has a closed circulatory system. This helps the squid as it allows the transfer of blood efficiently in its larger body. Finally, let's discuss the perch. The perch also has a closed circulatory system. The perch has a bigger body, so a closed system is more beneficial for it as it uses afferent and efferent brachial arteries for the delivery of oxygenated blood around the body and deoxygenated blood back to the heart and gills. Finally, kind of going off that point of oxygen, let's talk about the respiratory system. Earthworms, once again, are the simplest organisms here, so it makes sense that they have simple gas exchange. Specifically, the earthworm uses its skin as its organ for gas exchange, where oxygen simply diffuses in and other gases are diffused out. Next, let's talk about the crayfish. The crayfish has gills with textured gill filaments to increase their surface area for greater oxygen absorption and intake. This helps provide the crayfish with efficient gas exchange while requiring less energy. Next, let's talk about the squid. The squid also has gills, but it has significantly larger gills than the crayfish, providing it with more oxygen that is needed to maintain homeostasis in its larger body. Finally, let's discuss the perch. The perch uses gills for gas exchange. It sucks in water from the mouth and washes it over the gills. The gills contain gill lamellae that contain capillary beds that extract oxygen from the water. Now, let's move on from systems and talk about internal structures of these organisms, specifically reproductive internal structures and systems. First, let's start with the earthworm. Earthworms are hermaphrodites, meaning they have both male and female reproductive structures. They reproduce through sperm exchange externally, which is then brought into the body for fertilization of eggs. This is beneficial to the earthworm and their environment as it allows individuals to fertilize one another, which is essential for their underground life where they need to be able to reproduce quickly when they locate another other species. Next is the crayfish, which have either male or female reproductive organs. The males have sperm ducts that lead into swimmerets and then deliver sperm into the female's sperm receptacle for internal fertilization. The female will then lay her eggs on her tail and carry them around. This is beneficial for the crayfish and their environment as the delivery of the sperm with the swimmerets lets crayfish reproduce in even murky water environments, and the carrying of eggs on the female's tail helps with protecting her offspring. After the crayfish is the squid. Squids also possess either male or female reproductive organs. They reproduce by embracing one another, and the male then uses a specialized arm to deliver a spermatophore or sperm-filled sac into the female sperm receptacle. This fertilizes the female's eggs internally, which she will then lay and attach to a plant or coral. This reproduction is beneficial to the squid's environment because it allows for fast mating and a high egg output that increases survivability in the ocean. Next is the perch, which possesses male or female reproductive organs and structures. However, fertilization happens externally with the female laying eggs that the male then fertilizes by releasing sperm, also known as broadcast spawning. This is extremely beneficial for the perch's environment as it allows them to easily reproduce and fertilize many, many eggs with little energy or ease as the sperm is capable of swimming to the eggs through the water. Finally is the rat. Rats contain either male or female reproductive organs and go through sexual reproduction with the physical union of male and female organs. Females can have as many as 12 litters per year and around 8 young per litter. They birth their offspring from the female reproductive organs and go through parental care and have lactation to feed their young. This is beneficial to their environment as in the right conditions, some females can have just under 100 pups in a year, having lots of offspring and maternal care that helps increase their survivability. Finally, I want to discuss how an endothermic animal, such as a rat, cannot be supported by the physiology of an exothermic animal, such as a perch. The first thing to note here are the characteristics of endothermic and exothermic animals. Endothermic animals generate their own heat, are warm-blooded, typically have a high metabolic rate, and often require constant meals and food for their metabolism. For exothermic animals, they rely on the environment to regulate their body temperature, often have a lower metabolic rate, and can go longer periods without food than endothermic animals can. Keeping this in mind, a rat cannot have the physiology of a perch as it would not support its metabolic needs. Specifically, just like we mentioned, the rat needs to regulate its own temperature, which it does with its high metabolic rate. If the rat had a perch's physiology, therefore a low metabolic rate, it would be unable to complete this very vital task to maintaining homeostasis. And that's all for today. Thank you for watching and listening. I hope you enjoyed and have a great rest of your day.